What is up, guys? Ncaa 31 here. Ncaa 14. Ncaa 31 sets out to fix his Notre Dame Fighting Irish. These are Operation Sports' rosters from the 2016 season, 16-17 season. So you see Deshaun Kreiser, Malik Zaire. You're not going to see Brandon Winbush there because I am redshirting him. And the fine folks at OS, they do a pretty good job with these rosters. They've been doing roster updates for this game for a couple of years now. It's not a perfect endeavor. It's impossible to be. There are some things that I would have done differently. I think that Deshaun Kaiser is not as good of a runner as they made him. Malik Zaire definitely isn't as good as a runner as they made him. But other than that, pretty solid job. Pretty solid job. I think it reflects Notre Dame's roster pretty nicely. Talented receivers, talented quarterback, good offensive line, talented backs. I have no defensive linemen. Defensive line is bad. Linebackers are okay. Defensive backfield, safeties are horrible. The corners, Cole Luke made him much better than he really is. Cole Luke was a crushing disappointment. His Notre Dame career has not been good. You see me going through the tight ends here, and this would be a good time to talk about what I think went wrong at Notre Dame this past year. There are a lot of factors to look at. I happen to be a Brian Kelly fan. I like what he does. I love how he recruits. I love what he does schematically. But I also think that Brian Kelly is a little bit stubborn in his ways. And I also think his temperament is a bit of a problem. And I think it's starting to affect the team, starting to affect the players. On one hand, I think it's a positive that he's tough on his players. He's a demanding guy. He holds his players accountable for their performance. But I also think that he comes across as not a very fun guy to play for. You see that with the quarterbacks, especially. He's really tough on his quarterbacks, and he hasn't really had a good relationship with any of them. He used to berate Tommy Reese all the time. Everett Golson he didn't really get along with. I think he actually liked Malik Zaire, but when Malik got hurt, he could never find a way to get his job back. And he butted heads with Kaiser here and there as well. He has a tendency to throw his quarterbacks under the bus. That's a problem. Because if you lose your quarterback, you lose your team. And I think what he tried to do, I think he tried to keep both Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire happy, and that never works. That almost always ends up in complete and utter failure. What ends up happening is that you have a disjointed team, you have factions developing in the locker room because inevitably some guys are going to favor one quarterback over the other, and it's just a tough dynamic to manage. And what ended up happening is that he lost both quarterbacks. Kaiser said, I've had enough of this, I'm going to the NFL, and Malik Zaire up and transferred. So the only guy left is Brandon Winbush. So Brian Kelly goes into this season where I absolutely think he has to win. If he's not in the playoff, he has to have them in at least a New Year's Six game because, again, going back to the personality issue, he's been grading a lot of people around the program the wrong way. It's tolerable when you're winning, but if you start losing, that gets old in a hurry. Now, Kelly has shown some signs that he's trying to dial it back a little bit. He's going to let the offensive coordinator, Chip Long, do his thing. Kelly has been notorious in his career for being a complete control freak about his offense. I mean, he doesn't even let his quarterbacks make sight adjustments. His theory about the way he runs his offense is that the hot route is built into the play. So it's up to the quarterback. If a blitz is coming and he has to get the ball out hot, it's up to the quarterback to read it and make it happen. He does not give his quarterbacks much autonomy at all. So him committing to letting the offensive coordinator run the offense, that's a bit of a shift for him. and I'm interested to see how that dynamic plays out. I hope he sticks with it and allow himself to delegate more. I think he needs it. There needs to be a buffer at times between the player and the coach. I think it's healthy to have that, and I don't think that really existed at Notre Dame the past couple of years. My gut instinct tells me that the offense will be fine. Kelly recruits that side of the ball really well. The tight end pipeline that Notre Dame's been known for kind of ran dry a little bit last year. They had some young guys get hurt and not really do a whole heck of a lot, but the backs and receivers are still plenty good. The bigger concern for me is the defense. He has to get the defense fixed. The defense has had some problems for a couple of years now. Mainly the Stephon Tuitt, Sheldon Day, Lewis Nix, Gravy Train kind of ran dry, and replacing those guys have been kind of tough over the past couple of years. The safety pipeline has kind of dried up. Miles Morgan hasn't really developed as well as they would have hoped. They really missed Joe Schmidt. And of course, you're going to miss guys like Jalen Smith. You had Jaron Jones still there, but he did nothing. But the bigger issue, or the biggest issue to me, is that they not only looked slow, they were extremely poorly coached. You guys know, if you've been following me at all over the past few years, that Brian Van Gorder, the former DC, was a bit of a whipping boy for me. I couldn't stand Van Gorder. They could not fire Van Gorder fast enough. Van Gorder's problem was that he fell into the classic trap that guys who have NFL experience and go back to the college level or go down to the college level fall into. They try to make things too complicated. They try to do too much. They come in with these grandiose visions of being, exotic and multiple. But what they find out is that you're not dealing with professionals. You're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who have to be taught basic fundamentals. At the high school level, these guys are able to just overwhelm people with just natural physical ability. They're bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else in the field. At the college level, they have to actually learn technique. They have to learn how to play football. And then you have to mold them into how you want them to play. Guys like Nick Saban are masters at this. They bring these guys in and they indoctrinate them into the culture that they've established and what they expect out of them and how they wish to have them execute, and they're meticulous at it. Van Gorder's problem is that he was just all over the place. There was no rhyme or reason to what they were doing defensively from week to week. There was no rhyme or reason for what they were doing from series to series. I can't tell you how many times in the past couple of years I've seen Notre Dame, start out playing fairly solid on defense. Maybe on first and second down, they play, good fundamental defense. They get to third and long, and Van Gorder has to show how smart and creative he is, and dials up some exotic pressure, and there's a giant bust of someone running 15 yards downfield wide open. That happened constantly under Van Gorder. It happened all the time. And it got to a point last year where Kelly finally threw him under the bus. Kelly's out there telling the media, either our players suck or we're asking them to do things that they can't handle. So then they went back the other way. They started dialing back what they do and being more vanilla. But that only works if you have a really good front seven and you're really strong in the back end. And they were neither. So that didn't work. It was just a complete mess all the way around. I would have loved for them to get Bob Diaco back. I loved Bob Diaco. He was smart. He was a coordinator that knew what he had and coached to it to a T. When he was there, he said, hey, I got about 4 or 5 NFL players between my defensive linemen and linebackers, and I have safeties in the back end that can knock people's heads off. So we're going to rush 4, rush 5 occasionally, have Ncaa roll in the middle of the field, and have our safeties, clean up anything that gets behind him. And it worked. Got him to the national championship game. But unfortunately, since that year, The talent level on the defensive side of the ball has thinned out. They're not nearly as deep. Some guys who were recruited pretty highly either got injured, like Niles Morgan, or didn't pan out, like Kivara Russell and Cole Luke, or got kicked off a team like Slaughter, or both. They haven't done nearly as good a job reloading the defense as they've had in restocking the offense. And they've done a pretty poor job of developing their defensive players. Notre Dame hasn't had corners that haven't scared me to death in a while now. That has to change, especially in a spread world. If your secondary is constantly a problem, it's hard to win. It really is. Because if you can't hide them with your front seven, they're going to get exposed. So, there you go. I think Brian Kelly's a smart guy. I think he's a good coach. Hopefully he can get it fixed. Otherwise, Brian Kelly might be replaced by Chip Kelly next year. As long as Chip is dangling out there without a job, he's always going to be a name at the college level that people are going to try to get back to the college game. That's just the way it is. So, let's see how Notre Dame does on the real gridiron, if they can fix those issues. And let's see if I can fix those same issues here on the virtual playing field. As you see, James Anawalu take down Jahad Thomas for a nice tackle for loss. I'm playing this on Heisman difficulty with OS's community sliders. I feel they're pretty solid. And this isn't about doing whatever it takes to slaughter the CPU every single game. I have some house rules that I employ. You see me controlling a defensive lineman for one, and I limit myself to one linebacker or defensive line shift, and on offense, just one hot route, whether it be blocking or changing a receiver. That's it. And you saw the schedule. The schedule is a freaking beast. I opened up with this game, Temple, and Temple's, they're not horrible. They can be pesky, and when the CPU runs an up-tempo scheme, they're pretty tough to deal with in this game. One, they always have the right call. They always have the right play called. And two, they move at a much faster pace than you can as a user when you're running no huddle. So when you combine just this rapid pace with the fact that the CPU cheats like a whore, they can be a real pain in the behind to defend when they're running spread no huddle or even a pro style up-tempo offense, a one-back or a pro style no huddle offense, which some teams do. But, we have Temple here, then we have Michigan next game. Got Oklahoma on the schedule, Michigan State, Arizona State, BYU, USC, Stanford. This could be pretty difficult in season number 1. I'm playing 3-3-5 stack on defense, and the roster isn't even close to being ideal for that. I have no defensive lineman. I'm starting a true freshman at one end, Dallin Hayes, and I have Jaron Jones playing the nose tackle, and Isaac Rochelle playing at the other defensive end. None of them are really particularly great. Jaron Jones can rush the passer a little bit, but he's mediocre at block shedding. Isaac Rochelle is a decent pass rusher, but not overly athletic, and Dallin Hayes is pretty athletic, but he's just weak. He's not very strong. Linebackers, Niles Morgan is a little bit on the slow side, and Anwalu is solid. The LB unit, it's just okay. It's not outstanding. Secondary, the safeties are a mess. As you see, Drew Dranko make a tackle there to deny a first down, but the safeties are a mess. I'm starting DJ Morgan at one safety spot as a true freshman, and Drew Dranko, he plays the other strong safety spot, the rover spot. Actually, I have that backwards. DJ Morgan is playing free safety as a true freshman. Drew Tranquil's playing the rover spot, and Avery Sebastian is playing the strong safety number 1 spot, so to speak. The corners. Thank God that Cole Luke's coverage ratings are on the overrated side. He's a little bit slow, but, I can live with that as long as his coverage ratings show up. Sean Crawford, he's decent. The other corners aren't anything to write home about. On offense, I'm running the Baylor playbook. I've really missed these playbooks in this game. The NCAA 14 playbooks, they're just overall outstanding. They've nailed the spread playbooks about as well as I think a video game could. Even the pro-style playbooks are really good. And they're all diverse. Some playbooks share some similarities with others, but not nearly to the extent of, say, Madden, for example, where, NFL playbooks are going to be much more homogenous than on the college level. College playbooks, or college offenses in general, tend to have more personality and more uniqueness, but every type of flavor of spread offense that you can think of is replicated pretty well in this game. The Baylor playbook has what you would expect the Baylor playbook to have. Tons of spread sets, 2x2 and trips. They have some pistol and they have an empty set. And some under center single back stuff. And they have an under center empty set too. It feels like Baylor's offense. And maybe it's just my imagination. Maybe it's just that the hash marks are wider. But I swear to God, the field in this game seems bigger. Maybe it's just the visual illusion caused by the wider hashes that you find at the college level, obviously. But there just seems to be more space to do things. I don't feel like I'm, playing football on a phone booth. I feel like I have, room to space the field, and it just feels less congested. Like, here's an example where I forget that I can just turn and throw the bubble screen. That's just game rust kicking in. It's been a while since I've played this game, obviously, so there's some rust I gotta shake off and get back used to how the game feels and plays. Deshaun Kaiser on the inverted veer keep. The way these rosters are made up, he's a bit of a rumbler. He doesn't have the speed to split through there, but he has good size, and he can, rumble a little bit. Play action there. The good old play action wide receiver in. You saw me pop a buck sweep for a touchdown. There are elements of this game that feel really clean. And I actually think this is the first EA football game that Clint Oldenburg was on board for. You see a lot of the concepts that Clint talks about, on Twitter and what he would like to have implemented in the Madden game. You see kind of the genesis of that in this game here. I'm pretty sure this was Clint's first game. Here I get stuck on player lock and I'm all disoriented and they bust me up the sideline out of cover 2. Don't play a whole heck of a lot of cover 2 out of a 3-3-5 stack, and that's one of the reasons why. In general, I don't play a lot of cover 2 in this game because of the wider hashes. That's just a ton of ground for the field side safety to have to cover in this game. Oh, I would love to see this game on a PS4 or Xbox One. My God. As we pop some runs up the middle here. And, very simple stuff here. I have 183 yards running on the ground. If I see 2 deep safeties and 5 in the box, it's a run every single time. Either a dive or a zone read, QB keeper, something. One of the things that doesn't get appreciated enough or doesn't get enough attention out of the Baylor system is their running game. Their running game is very potent. They will spread the field sideline to sideline with those obnoxious wide receiver splits of theirs, and it forces defenders to have to walk out to them. So what do you have? You have a light box a lot of the time, and they'll just hammer the inside zone or the power. And if you creep those safeties into the box or cheat those slot defenders inside, they'll bust you down the seam. They'll bust you out wide, one-on-one, with your corners on an island with all that acres of grass to cover. or they'll hit you with their run pass options. They run a bevy of zone read, bubble, zone read, hitch, zone read, slant, package plays. Those aren't in this game. I don't think EA is anywhere close to be able to replicate, package plays. That's what they do. But they do have stuff like this: a auto motion inside zone split read option. Basically, a zone read with a lead blocker for the QB if it's a keep read. Two deep safeties, run the dive. Josh Adams rumbling. I got Torian Folston, Mr. Jump Cut, and Josh Adams, who's the battering ram. And Deshaun Kaiser with these rosters has the arm. He's got 95 arm strength with 85 throwing accuracy for those downfield throws. A lot of play action inverted veer in this playbook. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to recruit lots of fast wide receivers that can zoom in space. As Mr. Hayes, the true freshman, his first collegiate game, gets his first sack of his career. It also took a little bit of getting used to using the analog sticks for my pass rush and block hitting controls, which I kind of like. I think I like that control mechanic better than using the buttons. I feel like it's more fluid to use the sticks. That's just my opinion. Maybe some of you guys differ. Look at this power bull rush I'm able to do. See how I just plowed right through that tackle?
That's a big time stop here by the defense.
That's just all stick work there. All analog. It just feels like to me that I'm more in control of an actual human body. Being able to steer with the sticks and to do those moves and to shed those blocks. So here I am. I'm just running out the clock. I get the first down, and that ices the game. So this will conclude episode 1. Started out slow, had some rust. Deshaun Kaiser ended up with a big game, 29 of 42 for 353. Had 3 total touchdowns. And that pretty much wraps up the opener. Got Michigan coming up next. And that begins just an absolute gauntlet. Michigan, then we got Purdue, then Michigan State, then Oklahoma. So that's going to determine how this season's going to go in a hurry. We're going to find out real quick. So we take care of Temple 49-27. Nice, tidy victory. After we knocked some rust off. And here are some stats. You see Deshaun Kaiser stats there. Got sacked 3 times. But other than that, pretty good. Can't complain about that performance whatsoever. Running the ball, again, the underappreciated aspect of the Baylor offense. Had about a little over 250 rushing yards. Equiminius St. Brown, he's the big play guy. On Wallow with 11 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. DJ Morgan with a sack out of the safety position. Dalen Hayes with 5 tackles, 2 for a loss and a sack, and Rochelle with a sack as well. So pretty solid all the way around. I'll also do some episodes, of course, dedicated to recruiting. Show you guys the prospects that are out there and the schools that we're battling for the players that I want. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.